Good evening, Sea King family. My name is Mr. Zebarth, and I am likely one of your students' teachers, specifically their media arts teacher. I am here at CDM in room 234. I'm right next to the LRC, so I'm neighbors with Mama Mary. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my media arts pathway here. Let us begin. This format is new and interesting, so you are going to struggle through this with me here as I figure out how to get more comfortable talking on camera. So thank you for allowing me to practice this with you, right? A little bit about me. I'm going to hit present here. I like to start with my career. This is my 5th year teaching. It's also my 5th year at CDM. And so what that means is that this is a second career for me. Starting in 2008, I started working at a photography studio where we photographed mostly product. Our biggest client was Anna's Linens. We also shot product for people like D-Link, so like internet routers. I was also doing wedding photography and some other side jobs as well, but that was my main source of income for about 10 years. When the iPhone came out, I noticed our client base shrinking and shrinking. So my father, who is also a teacher as a second career, my brother, who's currently a teacher at Fountain Valley High School, they convinced me to pursue teaching, and I heeded the call and I said hello. So, and I'm absolutely loving every minute of it. Absolutely a joy to work with your children. My previous work existence was in a very small studio with one other employee, and now I got access to the whole world, it seems like. So another few funny anecdotes about me. I used to park cars at the Balboa Bay Club and the Ritz restaurant in Fashion Island. The Ritz especially. I worked there for about 9 years right out of high school. And it put me through college, and it does. I have 2 boys with my wife, who is the PTA president at Victoria Elementary School. So we are heavily invested in Newport Mesa. And so far, it's just been an awesome experience at both schools. Have I said that yet? This is a great example of the kind of product I was shooting. This is a bed in a bag sold by Anna's Linens. It was probably $30. And I would often receive a whole truckload of these things. I would take one out of a bag, iron it, style it, put it on the bed, stuff the bed, light everything up, photograph it, Photoshop it, and turn it into the client. So I have kind of an interesting experience as a photographer because I was doing a little bit of a jack of all trades. And it turned out to be, it really worked out because I'm teaching media arts where we are really exploring kind of anything and everything. I'm not limiting anybody to one kind of media. Because while I might be really into photography, there might be another student that might not like photography as much. And so we're going to talk about it later, but they'll have a choice of what kind of media that they can focus on. 3D is not just 3D animation, it's also gaming as well. I was not all that excited a few years ago when Fortnite came out, and all of my students were just absolutely obsessed with it for a few months there. I have learned to accept their love of games, and now we actually are getting Unity 3D software, so students can not only make the characters and design them, but actually put them in the game and program the game as well. Mr. Z, do you have any background in programming video games? No, I don't. Pretty soon you'll be playing one of my games on your phone. We have a 3-year pathway, starting with Intro to Media Arts and Photography. Some of your children will be in the intermediate class, depending on their age. It really kind of depends on when they enter the class. So we really have an option whether or not you can take a 1-year, 2-year, or 3-year pathway. And by the end of the 3rd year, the whole curriculum is essentially self-chosen, and students are simply working on developing a portfolio the whole year. What else can I say about that? We also talk about social media a lot in our class. I'm not having them post to social media unless they really, really wanted to, but I am trying to keep them grounded in social media in order to allow them to understand how best to use social media responsibly. So that is a big theme in our classroom and something we talk about a lot. Also, this is technically a career class. Some people consider it to be kind of the opposite of an AP class, whereas an AP class is designed to help your students get a head start in college. This is a head start on a career, right? And so we have a wide variety of learners in here. And part of that is just exploring employment opportunities. So actually this Friday, rather than go to my lecture, they're going to be listening to an artist speak. And they're going to be going to that lecture with students from the Costa Mesa High School Media Arts program. So we've really developed a really cool thing here, I think. I also lastly say something about the creative view. The creative view is what art educators describe as the drop off in confidence, right, at a certain age. So my children right now at 9 and 6 are very confident with their drawing abilities. If I were to walk into a classroom full of kindergartners and I asked them, hey, how many of you guys know how to draw? They'd all raise their hand and they'd all be experts, right? And by the time they get into 7th, 6th grade, 8th grade, the second somebody tells them to draw a nose, they start to lose the love of art. And so I'm really trying to bring them back up and increase their confidence. And I do that through, let me see what the next slide is here. I do that through some very low stress, low pressure drawing exercises. Okay, that's a take 2 here. Thank you for following along now. I wanted to show you all something that we just made in class. This represents about a week and a half worth of work here. Here we go. This is from Dylan. Awesome. So how do we start out? We started off making, and this is going to be kind of small on your screen. Actually, I could switch cameras. We have very fancy technology here, right? So here is an example that I use. You see my battery running out. That's how fancy it is. We haven't even talked about music yet. I have a piano here, musical instruments. I teach your students how to make music as well. Awesome. So from this little exercise where students were asked to make 8 different characters, the next day they chose one of these characters and developed a 4-panel comic out of it by simply changing animating, I would say, quote unquote, animating one facial feature. Okay. So these are my examples. I always like to show off student examples. It's a shame that we can't be here at Back to School Night because I would have artwork just like this all over the walls and it would be a beautiful thing. So I'm just going to show you this one example. Oh, yes. Also, a big thank you to the CDM Foundation. We need to talk about that for a second. I'm going to hit escape here. Much of what you see here today has been provided by either the boosters, the foundation, or the PTA. For example, I currently have about 35 copies of Batman. This is kind of where they're going with the comic drawing. And so we use this as a literacy project where they will read and learn how to read artwork, both in the written form and the visual pictorial form. The PTA also paid for Understanding Comics, which is essentially the textbook for this class and this comic book as well. The boosters, another example of how helpful and supportive the community here at CDM is. They purchased musical instruments for us. So I haven't shown this off yet. You see in my other camera view, if it's still working, we have musical equipment. We have a piano here that was donated from another school. I have let me show you this. This is a thumb piano. So imagine a student, let's see if I can get this working, making a beat on a drum machine and then playing music to it. Now, Mr. Z, I've never taken a piano lesson in my life. I don't know how to play piano. That doesn't matter. I don't really know how to either. I know how to teach it, right? I might not be able to play music, but I sure can teach it. So there is a lot of fun stuff in here. Too much to even talk about, really. Again, thank you, PTA, boosters, and foundation. Have you joined yet? I'm having an absolute blast teaching here, whether it's from a distance or hopefully, especially when we get back to school in person. So thank you so much. And please email me if you have any questions. My email is, I'll just put it up here. Let's make a new slide because I don't think I provided an email address. czbarth@nmus.us. Thanks again. And I wish you luck with all your other classes that you have to visit tonight.